I just looked in the mirror and there it was. It was just spraying all around and I was like a little sprinkler in the bathroom. Hey guys, welcome to another video. If this is your first time to my channel, please click the subscribe buttons down here somewhere. This video is going to be a special one. It's going to be on the 10 things no one ever told me about childbirth, labor, postpartum, and breastfeeding. Now I was going to add pregnancy in there, but pregnancy is a whole nother video of itself. I also really wanted to share my birth story because Liam is turning 5 next month. It's crazy. So I think it'll be nice to kind of go down memory lane and tell that story. But my birth story is crazy. I had about a 17 to 18 hour birth, and I really want to make that video. So if you guys want to see that, just let me know in the comments below and I would love to share it with you guys. Now, of course, I do have to put a disclaimer out there that I'm not an expert and this is just my opinion and these are just my experiences. But these are just the tips that I wish a homegirl would have told me so that I could have mentally, physically, and emotionally just prepared myself for all this goodness. Well, as you might expect, this video is going to be a little bit TMI. There's going to be lots of stories about blood, pain, down there issues, up here issues. So if you're a male or you're a kid, you probably don't want to hear this unless you want some tips and tricks on how to help your soon-to-be baby mama. But if you feel like you can't handle it, just scroll on ahead. Okay. Now, if you're an expecting mom or you're already a mom just wanting to go back into memory lane, or you want to become a mom soon and you just want to prepare yourself, then keep on watching and get ready. Let's get straight into it. Number 1, go number 2 before going to the hospital to give birth. I told y'all this was going to be TMI, but one of the things that no one ever told me was that you will feel like you have to go number 2 while you're giving birth really badly. And the way I found out is while I was having contractions, I went on Google and I just Googled every single thing that I could last minute about giving birth, about labor, and all of that. And one of the things was that you have a chance that you will poop while giving birth. And for some reason, that was just terrifying to me. And if you pooped while you gave birth, or if you're going to in the future, it's completely okay. But for some reason, for me, I just couldn't fathom that happening. And as I was giving out my last push with Liam, my nurse actually told me, push as if you're taking the biggest poop in your life. And I was like, oh no. And thank God I Googled that. So I knew to use the restroom before I even went into the hospital and before the contractions were just too excruciating. So go poop before, so it will give you peace of mind while you're pushing your brains out. And my neighbors think I'm crazy. Number 2 is you have to decide if you want your epidural pretty early on. I went into the hospital thinking I'm going to have a completely natural birth, and boy was I wrong, because I was in so much pain. I couldn't even walk. I could barely even talk anymore. And I know that the pain varies by some women, but the moment that I got asked whether I wanted the epidural or not, I said yes. So when I told the nurse that I actually did want the epidural and I just couldn't handle the pain anymore, I was about 4 to 5 centimeters dilated, and it took another 2 to 3 hours after that until I was able to get my epidural. I'm not sure if that's the normal amount of time, but that's what happened with me. And the nurse told me that if I just waited another hour to tell her that I wanted the epidural, that I would have been too much dilated to receive the epidural. And when I was pregnant, I was reading all up on the epidural and how it can give you back pain later on, and how big the needle is and how much it hurts. And everything didn't matter to me anymore at that point. When they came in and I saw the needle, I was like, thank God. I've never been happier to see a needle. And to be honest, the epidural didn't really hurt at all compared to the contractions. What was scary was that you have to sit up straight for them to give you the epidural. And the nurses tell you that if you move, you have a chance of becoming really injured or even paralyzed. So that was probably the scary part, was me having to sit like this while the contractions were going on and while a huge needle was going in my back. And I swear I felt a needle going in 3 times in my back. I don't know if I was hallucinating, because I might have been, but let me know if that's actually the case or not, or if it's just one shot. Number 3 is that no one ever told me that you have a chance of getting cut in the middle of trying to push out your baby. So I'm not sure if you guys know that there's a high probability that you probably will tear down there while pushing out a huge bowling ball. So it does make sense. The tearing can actually be in different degrees, which means it can be somewhat bad or it can be super bad and just tear all the way through, which is completely terrifying. But there's also a chance that the nurse can decide to cut you instead. I'm not sure what the medical reason behind it is, but I'm sure there's a very logical reason behind it. In my case, it was to save Liam because he wasn't getting enough oxygen and they weren't sure why he wasn't getting enough oxygen. So we only had a few options. They were going to use a little vacuuming thing, which I didn't know about either. That's going to be for my birth story. Or I was going to have an emergency C-section, or she would just have to cut me and I would have to push as hard as I could. The doctors and nurses told me I only had one real hard push left before they would have to go into the other options. So I pushed as hard as I could, and that's when the nurse actually cut me. And she didn't let me know, which I'm actually glad that she didn't let me know, because I would have freaked out at the time. I just knew that I wanted to get the baby out of me and I wanted the baby to be healthy and safe, but I got cut. And of course, there's that moment of just complete love and just utter joy that you didn't even know you had for this tiny little human that was inside of you. But I remember holding my baby and then looking down, and the nurse is just there just stitching me up. And as she's stitching me up, the stitch was so long. Okay, she was stitching me up like this, and I saw the blood just dripping down. I'm sorry, this might be too gruesome or TMI for you guys, but that's just what happened. And I just tried to adjust my eyes to the baby instead of focusing on what was happening down there, because at that time I could still feel the tugging and the pulling and the pain, because they don't completely numb you down there, because you have to still feel yourself pushing and you have to feel the pressure of the baby leaving your body. And the pressure, man, the pressure is intense. Number 3 is that the birth is not the end of the pain. So after you give birth to the baby, you have to also give birth to the placenta, which isn't so bad. But what does hurt afterwards is while you're resting and you're trying to bond with the baby, the amazing nurses, they will come in and they'll do this thing called like a stomach massage, and they'll just push down on your belly and massage it gently, which doesn't feel so gently because your stomach is so tender, because it's so used to having a huge baby in there. Which, by the way, your stomach doesn't actually go down after birth. I thought I was just going to have a little pouch, but you still look about 7 to 8 months pregnant afterwards. So they just push down and get all the excess liquids and blood and air out of you, and it hurts. And yes, it's going to sound like you're farting, but you're not. Okay. Number 4 is that everything is going to hurt, especially down there, and that sitting is going to hurt, laying down is going to hurt, taking a shower is gonna hurt, going pee is going to hurt, going number 2, oh my god, don't even get me started on that. The things that will help you survive all of this is 1, laxatives, 2, an ice pack, and number 3 is a little peri bottle, which is something you're going to have to use when you go to the bathroom after giving birth for about the first week or 2. It is meant to clean yourself down there and just keep everything safe and sanitary. You don't really want to mess anything up down there if you got stitches. And also, you're very prone to infections after you give birth. So the peri bottle is going to be your best friend for the first week. Also, don't let me scare you. Some people's postpartum recovery can be a lot easier and a lot less painful. But this is just something nobody told me, because all I heard was you're gonna see your baby, the whole birth, all the pain is going to be worth it because you're so in love with the baby. Which is true, it's 100% worth it. But no one told me that the recovery was almost going to be as painful as just the birth itself. I don't know if my brain just made me forget the pain I went through, while I was giving birth, but I will not forget the pain I was going through after the birth process. Number 5 is that breastfeeding doesn't just come naturally. I remember that I was doubting myself all the time. I didn't know if Liam was latching on correctly. I didn't know if milk was coming out. And I actually just remembered that the first couple of days, you're not actually even producing milk. I don't remember what it's called, but let's just say it's the pre-milk. But I was very, very blessed that Liam did latch on correctly, and I was able to breastfeed him for about 2 years. But within those first 2 years, especially the first few months, there's going to be things that are going to be chapped, they're going to be cracked, they're going to be bleeding. I remember there were times where I'm literally crying while breastfeeding. Your breast will get engorged at times, and there's these ducts, milk ducts inside your breast that can get clogged. And if they get clogged, it can cause many other things, so you have to massage them to unclog them, and oh, the pain. It hurts so bad to unclog them, but with some warm water, some nice massage techniques, you can do it. Which actually leads me to this point, that your milk will come out unwanted at times. A lot of times actually. I remember taking my first hot shower after giving birth, and afterwards I just looked in the mirror and there it was. It was just spraying all around, and I was like a little sprinkler in the bathroom. And there were many times when I was breastfeeding Liam and milk would just spray all over his face. It would be all over the bed sheets. So a tip is to always have a towel with you when you're breastfeeding. Those little milk pads that you put in your shirt, those are super helpful for whenever you want to leave the house. It won't always help you from spilling, but most of the time it will do its job. Number 6 is that your baby might want to breastfeed all the time, and it's not a quick 5-10 minutes and pop, you're done. And it's different for every baby. But for Liam, it took him about 45 minutes to finish feeding, and then he will get hungry again in another 45 minutes. So I had to plan my life in 45-minute increments, and I was actually terrified that he wasn't latching out correctly, and that's why it was taking him so long. Or my mom told me that I was overfeeding him. But when I was going to the doctors for a checkup and I was showing her how I was feeding, she made sure that I was doing it 100% right. He was latching on, he was getting the milk, and she was just assuring me that you cannot overfeed the baby, and the baby kind of knows how much they need to eat. And because Liam came out only at 4 pounds and 10 ounces, he was just trying to gain the extra weight, the nutrition that he needed. So listen to your body, listen to your baby, and follow your instincts. Which leads me to number 7. I think it's number 7. And that is that you will get a ton of unwanted parenting advice from parent experts, right? And a lot of these experts tend to be single people that don't have any kids and think they're experts. They can also come from your mom or your mother-in-law or just your parents and your well-meaning friends, whether they have kids or don't. Now for me, I didn't like that so much because I've just never been a big fan of unsolicited advice, and you're going to get it all the time, no matter where you go. You might even get it from strangers, but just know that you're doing the best you can, and whatever advice you're getting, take the best, leave the rest. As a new mom, you're probably already doubting 99% of the things you're doing or the things you're feeling, and you're already sleep deprived. So don't let other people's opinions affect you. Just focus on yourself, focus on the baby. And what helped me a lot was reading really great parenting books, and also an app I got called Baby Center. I got this app all the way from when I found out I was pregnant, and I'm still using it today. This app is so helpful. It's like having a baby and pregnancy mastermind best friend with you every single day to go through the pregnancy with you, and you can read up on things like how big your baby is getting now, what you might be craving, the things that might be happening with your hormones. And it just gives you a sense of peace that whatever you're going through is not abnormal, and that it's a whole part of the pregnancy, or it's the part of being a new mom. Even till this day, it makes me more aware of what my kid is feeling or what my kid is going through, and awareness really is the first step to everything. So this allows me to be more patient and understanding, and just being the best version of myself as a mom. Okay. And that leads me to number 8, I think. I completely lost count, so bear with me. But number 8 is that postpartum depression is real and it's common. I think knowing this will save a lot of new moms a lot of doubt and stress on top of all the things they're already dealing with, because it's already hard being a new mom as it is. It's a beautiful experience, but it's definitely not an easy one. The only reason I knew this was because of the Baby Center app, and because I just googled a million different things of what to expect. And none of my friends who had kids before, none of my family members that had kids before talked to me about this to really prepare me for this. And I feel like it's almost because society frowns upon new moms who feel that way, and that scares women from talking to their spouse or talking to the people close to them about how they're feeling. Just knowing that it's a normal and common thing just allowed me to understand my feelings. And I probably didn't have it as bad as probably most women do, but there were still times where I just had to put the crying baby down in the bassinet, go in the bathroom, lock the door, and just cry until I couldn't cry anymore. And then just look at myself in the mirror, throw up that peace sign with those puffy eyes and boogers coming out of my nose, and then just go back out there and be the mom that God created me to be. And it's okay to feel that way because your life completely changed. And yes, it changed for the better, but still, it's a big dramatic change, and your body and your mind just needs to get used to all of it. Okay, number 9, and I'm completely going out of order, is that you're going to be so hungry while you're in the hospital because you're not going to be able to eat anything while you're in labor, because all they're going to feed you is ice cubes. And there's some great medical reasons behind it, but you're going to be starving, especially if you're going to have a really long labor like I did. So just mentally prepare yourself to be hungry, to be super exhausted, and to be in excruciating pain all at the same time. I remember that Peter didn't want to leave my side while I was in labor, and I didn't want him to leave either. So I decided, hey, you can eat. I know you're super hungry. Go ahead and eat. And he had this big bowl of pho that he ate in the same hospital room, and he was just slurping it up. And I remember I kept telling myself that I'm an understanding wife, I'm an understanding wife. And I really wanted to knock the bowl out of his hands, even though I was the one who suggested him eating it. But sometimes when you're in so much pain, you turn into someone that you're just not. So expect that as well, I guess. That leads me to number 10, which is that your feet can actually get swollen while you're pregnant, and even after you give birth, they can actually stay big. My feet actually grew about half the size to up to 1 size bigger than they were before, which was insane. Nobody told me that would happen except Google and the Baby Center app. So yeah, just don't buy any new shoes that you're so excited to wear after you give birth in the size that you are now. Just wait to buy it after you give birth so you know whether your feet actually grew or if they're the same size. And that's all. Those are the 10 things I wish someone would have told me, so let me be the one to tell you. Hopefully this didn't scare anybody. Giving birth is an amazing process. It's a beautiful experience, and raising a child is the best gift that anybody could receive. And again, don't take anything I said as expert advice. Listen to your doctor, your OBGYN, listen to the professionals and not Tia Tran. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below if you want to see a video on my crazy birth story or a video on the 10 things nobody ever told you about pregnancy. And subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Guys, I'm sick of me doing this.